and welcome to All Things Yoga and the April fusion of everything that yoga is all about. So I'd like you to really be thinking about your physical body, your mental thoughts, your energetic body, which is your breath, and just moving with intention throughout the whole of this practice. We'll also be working a little bit on the chakras because we'll be rooting through our feet for stability, doing a little bit of fluidity, finding that fire in the belly, finding a little bit of openness through our front side body to create that space around the heart space, thinking about the communication of the mind and the body, which is obviously around the chakra of the throat, and having a real mindful awareness as we move throughout the practice. So really working those chakras, working those physical elements of the body. So let's start at the front of the mat. We're going to start with a few rounds of sun salutation to warm the body up, a nice slow couple at the beginning, and then working it up a little bit faster towards the end. So bringing our feet to the front of the mat, having our feet hip width apart, toes in front of the heels, bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Turn the palms forward, take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, and then just relax them back down towards the hips. Close the eyes, soften the jaw. Think about how those feet are grounding into the mat to find that stability in our mountain pose, our start of our sun salutation. And just notice the breath, notice the physical body, notice the mind. And if we get that little bit of monkey chatter throughout the practice, always bring that focus back to the breath to try and forget those thought patterns. You don't have to force them away, but if you bring your focus to something else, it usually gets rid of that monkey chatter. So take a nice long deep breath in and a long sigh out through the mouth. Take another breath like that, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Start to bring that focus now to that Ujjayi breath, in and out through the nose if you're happy to do so. If you wish to use the mouth, feel free also. So we're going to start working with a little bit of fluidity now through our sun salutations, but taking the first two nice and slow. On your in-breath, raise the hands up towards the ceiling, palms together at the top. On your out-breath, fold from the hips, slightly bend through the knees as you bring the hands all the way to the floor. On your in-breath, come up to a half lift, straighten the legs, hands to shins or bring it onto fingertips. On the out-breath, bend the knees, plant the hands, step your right foot back, step your left foot back. Then drop down the knees, keep the hips high, untuck the toes, let the chest come down towards the floor. On your in-breath, scoop yourself through into a little baby cobra. On your out-breath, release that chest back down, tuck under with the toes. Bring those chests back towards the thighs, push into the hands, push into the feet, lift up the hips and squeeze those heels back. Just hold it in down dog for a couple of breaths, feet hip width apart, hands shoulder width apart, breathing nice and fluidly in and out through the nose. Then take a gaze in between the hands and step your right foot through, step your left foot through, and allow that body to fold over those thighs with a slight bend in the knees if you need to. Breath in raises you back up. Hands come together at the top, maybe find a little back bend. On the out breath, bring the hands to the chest. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. Next breath in, raise the hands up to the ceiling, palms come together at the top. On your out breath, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor and let the head go. In breath, come up to a half lift, plant the hands on the shins or come onto fingertips. On the out breath, plant the hands down, bend the knees. This time step the left foot back, then step the right foot back to plank. Drop down the knees, untuck the toes, turn the creases of the elbows forward as you lower with the chest, hips stay high. Scoop through with the body as you lift the chest forward into a baby cobra or a little higher. Then release the chest back down, tuck under with the toes. Bring those chests back towards the thighs. Pushing into the hands, pushing into the feet and lifting the hips to squeeze those heels back. Take a couple of breaths in down dog, making sure you have that good alignment, encouraging the heels towards the floor. Create some space across the collarbones. Find that grounding and stability through the feet and the hands. Then gaze in between those hands, step your left foot through, step your right foot through and fold over the legs. Your next breath in, raise the hands back up towards the ceiling. Palms come back together at the top, maybe take a back bend. Bring the hands to the chest and take a moment there. Samastiti, palms together. We're going to speed it up a little bit now. Choice to step back or jump back to Chaturanga. Release the hands down by the side of the chest. Breath in, raise the hands up to the ceiling, palms together at the top. Breath out, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor. Breath in, come up to a half lift, fingertips or hands to shins. Breath out, plant the hands, step or jump back, Chaturanga or plank. Roll through, up, lift the chest, either coming into a baby cobra or an up dog. And then take it back to down dog, your transition, either straight legs rolling over the toes, lifting the hips, or chest back to thighs. Finding that downward facing dog space, just for a couple of breaths. Breathing easy in and out through that nose, checking in with that energetic body. Checking in with the physical body. Checking in with those thoughts. Then bring the attention back to the breath to keep yourself present. We're going to either step or jump back to the front of the mat. So gaze in between the hands, bend the knees. On your exhale, step forward and fold over those legs. Breath in, raise the hands back up to the ceiling. Palms come together at the top. Take a back bend, bring the hands back to the chest. Samastiti. So we're going to take one round now of Sun Salutation B. On your in-breath, bring the hands back, raise the hands then up and bend the knees to chair. On your out-breath, fold forward over those thighs, let the head go. In-breath, come up to a half lift. Out-breath, plant the hands, step or jump back, plank or Chaturanga. Roll through, up, either into your up dog or into baby cobra. Then either take the chest back to thighs or roll straight over those toes. Lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Step your right foot through, drop your left heel internally, raise the arms and find warrior one. On your out breath, bring the hands back either side of that right foot, step your right foot back, lower to the floor, either straight bodies, dropping the knees, whatever variation you wish to go, hovering or to the mat. Lift up with the chest, take it back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. This time step your left foot forward in between the hands, drop your right heel internally, raise the arms, find your warrior one position here. Then release those hands back down on your exhale, step back to plank. Choice to go down to the floor or hover, roll through, up, lift up the chest, coming onto the toes, off the toes, sorry, and then make it back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back, holding it in down dog for a couple of breaths, heels squeezing down, hands pushing strong into the floor. Knowing they've worked with that second chakra to come with that water element and that fluidity of movement. Then gaze in between the hands, take a bend into the knees, step or jump to the front of the mat and allow that body to fold over the legs. We're going to root to rise, so bend the knees, bring the arms forward, find your chair position, push into the feet. On your out breath, bring the hands back to the chest. Samastiti. Just take a moment here just to connect the mind, the body, and everything that's working internally and externally. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. We're going to make our way back to down dog. Breath in, raise the hands up to the ceiling. And on your out breath, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor. In breath comes up to a half lift. Out breath, we plant the hands, step or jump back to plank or chaturanga. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. And then take yourself back to down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Easy breaths in, long breaths out. So having done that flow of sun salutations, we're now going to take it into the main part of the flow. We're doing all the work on the right side first, then we're going to repeat everything on your left side. So I'd just like you to walk yourself over slightly to the left side of the mat, just so then we've got space when we take it into our next pose. So we're just going to make a way down onto our knees first, bringing ourselves into tabletop, untucking the toes for a moment. Lift up your right leg, bring it back, lift up your left foot, bending the left knee, bend the right knee, stack the knee on top of the left foot, and then just allow yourself to come down to the floor with the chest, push back up, and again, we're going to release down to the floor, and push back up. One more, down to the floor, and push back up. Let the left toes come back to the mat, lift the left knee, bring your right knee in towards the nose, then raise the right leg up to the ceiling. Bring your right knee to the right elbow, and then raise that leg back up to the ceiling. Then your right knee to your left elbow, crossing over the body, using the oblique muscles. Raise that right leg back up to the ceiling. Then bring that knee back into the chest. And then come onto the inside edge of your left foot, scoop your right foot through and under that left hand, left leg, and then reach that left hand up. You can plant that right foot if you wish, or find that fallen triangle with a little bit of balance on those two limbs, left foot and right hand. And then sink the hips to the floor, wide leg fold into the center of the legs. Bring the hands forward, start to walk them forward as much as you can, taking it into a wide leg forward fold. Feel the root of the sit bones, feel the length of the spine. Use that energetic body to breathe into the pose. Keep squeezing the toes back towards the shins. Keep the knees and toes facing up. Use long breaths to find those micro movements for the range of movement to go a little deeper. Feeling that stretch on those inner adductors, the groin, maybe through the hamstrings on that posterior chain of the legs. Really thinking about that physical body and the sensations you're feeling. Next breath in, walk the hands back in towards you. Bring your right foot to meet the left so you're facing the back of the mat. Take a bend into your right knee and squeeze that right knee into the chest and just to the outside so it's coming around the outside of the right rib cage. Foot of the right is flat on the floor. Left foot is pointing the toes back to the shins and pushing the heel away. So choice to stay here, or if you wish to come into a forward fold, bring your right arm to the inside of your right knee. Take a hold of the shin, the ankle or that left foot. Breathe in, elongate, breathe out and fold. So remember, you could have stayed up nice and tall, just compressing through that right hip, or finding that forward fold over that left leg. Your next choice, if you want to go there, is wrapping your right arm around that right leg and bringing the right hand to that right thigh, and then bringing your left hand behind the back. Maybe find an interlace of those fingers at that lower part of the body. Still finding a fold here if you wish. Easy breaths in, long breaths out. So your left leg is straight, your right knee is bent. You're either still sitting up tall or finding a fold or finding a bind. So I'm still with the bind, so I'm going to go from the bind to where we're going next. If you're with sitting up tall or not binding, just take that right foot over the outside of the left leg. If you're bound with me, lift the chest, lift the foot, and then send that right foot over to the left side of the mat. Then just hold it in this space for a moment. And then release the bind if you're bound. Bring your right hand up and over to behind you, and your left elbow to hook over your right knee. Take in half Lord of the Fish, breathe in, elongate through the spine. Breathe out and rotate from the waist, maybe taking the gaze back to that front edge of the mat where we started. Easy breaths here. You can see now why I asked you to come over to the left side of the mat at the beginning of this practice. It just brings us into the centre of the mat when we find ourselves in this position. Turn the torso back to the back of the mat, then bring your left hand behind so it comes back to the front of the mat, and reach your right hand up to the ceiling. We're going to take it to a side plank, so drop your outside edge of your left foot to the mat, turn and twist the body, and then lift the hips to find side plank on the left side body. Right foot at the moment is still on the floor. We'll hold it here just for a breath, right hand lifted. And then if you wish to raise that right leg up towards the ceiling, pointing through the toes, pushing the hips forward, reaching up as high as you can with that right leg. And then bend into your right knee, bring your right hand onto the right ankle, and then turn back to the front of the mat, bringing your right foot with you. So we're now in a low lunge. Hips are nice and low. Keep your left hand on the floor, then raise your right hand up to the ceiling to find a rotation, turning and facing the right side of the mat. Notice the sensations in the body as we're taking these transitions around, seeing all four corners of the mat. Bring your right hand back down, stabilize into the feet, and then lift the arms, the torso, to stack over those hips to find your crescent lunge. Keep that right knee bent, the hips nice and low. Left leg is straight, pushing that left heel towards the back of the mat. We're now back facing the front of the mat if you was unsure where you should be. Relax the shoulders down. Reach up through the hands. Widen the fingers to engage those forearms. One more breath here. Then drop your left heel down. Your arms come back to a T shape to find warrior two. Right foot is forward, left foot is to the back of the mat. Keep tracking that knee of the right towards the little toe on that right foot. Keep tucking under with the tailbone and lifting up with the lower belly to keep that lower back nice and strong, nice and safe, so we're not impinging into that lumbar spine. Finding easy breaths as we hold warrior two to strengthen those thighs. Then taking it into a side angle stretch, so bringing your right hand to the inside of the right foot and reaching your left hand up and over, finding the openness through the chest, thinking about that chakra of the heart, shining it forward. Those warrior twos are engaging that chakra of the belly, that fire in the belly to keep us strong. Now in this position, if you wish to take a bind, bring your left hand behind the back, your right hand underneath that right thigh, and find fingertips at that upper part of the thigh. Trying to keep long through the torso, not collapsing over that right leg. One more breath in this position if you're bound. Then release the bind. Bring your right hand in front of the toes of the right. Step your left foot forward one step. And then find your half moon. Lifting up with the left leg. Then when you've lifted the left leg, maybe lift that left hand. Trying to stack the left hip on top of the right. The left shoulder on top of the right. creating space across the front of the body. Left toes squeezing back towards the shins, pointing out to the side. We're finding that stability through that right standing leg. One more breath here. And then bend into your right knee, bring your left foot back to the floor. Lift up with the torso, straighten through both legs and find a reverse triangle just for a breath. And then find triangle pose, reaching forward with the right hand, bringing it down to the inside of that right shin. Left hand lifts, finding yourself in that imaginary two pieces of glass. Breathing easy, creating length along that right side. Making sure that those breaths are coming either in and out through the nose or use the mouth if you're holding colds or allergies. Just make sure you're breathing as deeply as you can, connecting that energetic body to the movement. One more breath here. Then take a bend back into that right knee. Find your warrior two just for a breath. Then windmill the hands down, either side of that right foot. Step the right foot back to meet the left. Lift the hips, squeeze the heels back. Then coming down onto the knees. Just move yourself slightly over, this time to the right side of the mat. Lift the left leg, point it back. Bend into your right knee, so you're hovering on that right bone. Bend into the left knee and stack one on top of the other. Lower, bending the elbows, grazing the ribs, and push back up. We have two more of those. Lower, and push back up. One more lower, and push back up. Bring the right toes back to the floor, lift the right knee, bring the left knee into the nose. Reach the left leg up to the ceiling. Bring the left knee to the left elbow and lift back up to the ceiling. Left knee to the right elbow and lift back up to the ceiling. Then that left knee into the nose. Then thread that left foot under the right hand, right leg, and then bring your right hand up to the ceiling. Either keep that left foot lifted and underneath, or bring it to the mat if you need to. Just using the strength of the inner abductors as we find that fallen triangle. And then drop the hips to the floor. Widen the legs as much as you can. Toes back towards the shins. Hands in front of you, start to walk those hands forward. Bringing yourself down to that forward fold. Use that breath to find those micro changes. Easy breaths in, create that elongation. Easy breaths out to find that flexion. Notice those sensations on the inner thighs. Maybe that back chain of muscles of the legs. Just see whether you can send the breath into those spaces, just to try and release that tension you're holding in those spaces. Knees pointing up, toes pointing up. Rooted through those sit bones. Working with that first chakra, the Muladhara chakra. That chakra for stability and grounding. Walk those hands back up towards you. Bring that left foot to meet the right foot at the front of the mat. Back of the mat. You're facing the back of the mat now. Take a bend into your left knee this time and bring the foot in towards the bum. Squeeze that left thigh to the outside of the left rib cage. Either stay here, keeping tall through the spine. If you wish to come to a forward fold, bring your left shoulder to the inside of the left knee. Then reach towards the foot, Maybe you reach the shin, the ankle. Use that breath to find a little bit more fold. That compression through that left hip flexor, the lengthening through the back chain of muscles on the right leg. If you want to find a bind, wrap your left arm around that left leg and bring the hand of the left to the outside edge of the left thigh. Bring your right hand behind your back. Take an interlace of the fingers if you can reach, or just stay with that forward fold if the bind isn't happening for you. Then again, use that breath maybe to find a little more space to fold over that right thigh. Then lifting the torso back up, and if you're bound, bringing that left foot to come over that right thigh and planting the left foot on the right side mat. Just hold it in that bind if you're bound. And then release the bind. Bring your left hand up and over to behind you. Hook your right elbow over that left knee and find that half lord of fishes, working on detoxifying around those abdominals, those organs, allowing everything to rotate around the waist. Trying to squeeze all those bad toxins out of the system. As we rotate, we hold the blood supply, and then when we come out of our rotation, that blood supply flows again to flush that system out. Then turning the shoulders back around. So we're going to come into side plank on the right. So the right hand comes behind, left hand lifts. Come to the outside edge of the right foot and then lift the hips up. Keep the left foot down for a moment. Make sure you find that stability into that right edge of the right foot. Ground into that right hand, support you. And then if you wish to point those left toes up to the ceiling, straightening that left leg. Reaching as far forward with the left hand. And then take a bend into that left knee. Bring the left hand onto the ankle of the left foot and help it forward to the front of the mat. Maybe you have to wiggle yourself back onto the mat slightly. Right hand stays to the floor and the left hand lifts to rotate to that left side mat. Use that breath. Again, we're rotating. Stability, pushing down into the earth. Let that earth support you, but also let that earth send energy through the feet and all the way up to the top of the head, to the fingertips. Bring that left hand back down. Then reach up with the arms. Find your high lunge position. Sink the hips nice and low. Push energetically into the feet. Try not to flare too much in the ribs. Think about the lift of the lower belly, which will help stretch into those hip flexors on that right thigh. Then find your warrior two, dropping your right heel down, turning the shoulders to the right and bringing the hands to that T shape. Holding warrior two to find that fire in the belly, fire in the thighs. Lift up the lower belly, tuck the tailbone under. Keep growing long through those fingertips. Low in the hips. That left knee tracking towards that little pinky toe on that left foot. Stabilising into the big toe mount of that left foot. And then bring that left hand down to the inside of that left leg. Reach up and over with the right hand, finding side angle stretch. The chest is open, the space along the front side body. Communicating the mind and the body, noticing and being aware of everything that's happening internally, those little shifts. Then bring the right hand behind the back. Bring your left hand underneath that left thigh if you're going for binding. Find the fingertips in that upper left thigh. Grow nice and long through the torso, don't collapse over that left leg. Working that side angle bind, creating space, breathing easy. One more breath here. Then release the bind. Bring your left hand just in front of the toes of the left foot. Step your right foot forward slightly. And then find your half moon facing the right side of the room. Being supported by that left foot. Rooting into the floor. Lifting up with the right leg by using the outside of that right hip to lift. Keep open to that right side. Stacking right shoulder on top of the left, right hip on top of the left hip. Pushing the heel of the right foot to the back of the room and the toes to the shins. Toes pointing out. Balancing. Finding that equilibrium. Yoga means union. And we're finding that union and fusion of everything we do in practice. Then take a bend into your left knee, step your right foot back, reach up with the hands, straighten through both legs, and just find reverse triangle for a moment. Breathe the breath into that left rib cage. And then reach forward with the left hand, bring it to the inside of that left shin, reaching the right hand up to the ceiling, creating the space again across the chest. Feel like somebody's pulling the right hand up to the ceiling and the left hand to the floor. Long elongation down that left side body. Not collapsing over that left thigh, not hyperextending through that left knee. Something I have to constantly remind myself, being hypermobile, that you have to really think about not locking out in the joints and use the muscles surrounding that joints to find the strength. Find your warrior two again, bending into that left knee. Bringing both hands to a T shape, just for a breath. And then windmill the hands down, either side of that left foot. Step back to plank. Lift up the hips. Squeeze those heels back. Then taking a gaze in between the hands, take a bend into the knees, step or jump to the front of the mat and allow that body to fold over those thighs. Take a hold of the elbows, maybe make circles in one direction, softening the knees a little, softening through that cervical spine, around the neck space, curling through those vertebrae of the thoracic spine and stretching through that lumbar spine at the base, lifting through the sacrum and the tailbone. Release the arms to be heavy and slowly curl up through that spine, one vertebra at a time, bringing yourself all the way up to standing. As you arrive in standing, roll the shoulders back. So we started the practice with sun salutation. We're going to end the practice the same way, but because our body's a little bit warmer now, we can move a little bit more with intention, a little more with strength. So feet are grounded, tall through the crown of the head, turn the palms forward for a moment and find that stability into the feet. Your next breath in, raise the hands up to the ceiling. Your breath out, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor, bend the knees if you need to. Breath in comes to a half lift, fingertips or hands to shins. Breath out, we plant the hands, step or jump back, plank or chaturanga. Roll through, up, lift up the chest. Making your way back to down dog, lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Take a breath here in down dog. Then gaze in between the hands, bend the knees, step or jump to the front of the mat and allow that body to fold. Breath in, raise the hands, maybe take a back bend. Breath out, bring the hands to the chest. Release the hands down by the sides of the body. Breath in, raise the hands. Breath out, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor, let go of the head. Breath in, half lift, fingertips or shins. Breath out, plant the hands, step or jump back, plank or chaturanga. Roll through, up, lift up the chest, either baby cobra or up dog. Either chest back to thighs or rolling straight over the toes. Lifting the hips, squeezing those heels back. Take a long breath in. Long breath out. Then gaze in between the hands, bend the knees. On your exhale, step or jump, forward fold. Inhale, raise the hands up to the ceiling, palms together at the top. Breath out, bring the hands to the chest. So next one we're doing is Sun Salutation B, where we include Warrior One. Take a breath in, bend the knees, raise the arms, bring yourself to a chair. Breath out, fold from the hips, bring the hands to the floor. Breath in, half lift, fingertips or shins. Breath out, plant the hands, step or jump back, chaturanga or plank. Roll through, baby cobra or up dog. Take yourself back either through child's pose or rolling straight over the toes, lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Gaze in between the hands and step your right foot through, drop your left heel internally. Raise the arms, Warrior One. Release the hands back down, step back to plank. Make your way to the floor, straight bodies, either to a hover, drop the knees, whatever works for you right now with your energy levels. Lift the chest. Make your way back to down dog. Lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Gaze in between the hands and step your left foot through. Drop your right heel internally. Raise the arms, Warrior One. Release the hands down. Step the left foot back. Take your vinyasa, dropping the knees or straight bodies to the floor or hover. Lift the chest, baby cobra or up dog. Back through child's pose or rolling straight over the toes. Lifting the hips, squeezing the heels back. Take a nice long deep breath here in our down dog. Then your next breath in, gaze into the hands, step or jump on your exhale and forward fold. Next breath in, bring yourself into a chair position, hips low, arms high, and then take a stance, hands to the chest, and just take a moment here in mountain pose. Just to find everything through that physical, energetic, that mental body, all through that thought patterns, just being fully aware, having that wisdom to make choices as you practice, and let those choices be wise ones. And in a moment, taking ourselves down into relaxation for that moment of bliss. Before we do so, release the hands down by the side of the body and then bring the arms to shoulder height. Come up onto our tiptoes and slowly bending into the knees. Keep the torso stacked. Start to lower those bums towards the heels. As we bring ourselves down, sit bones to the heels. Hold it in that crouch position on our toe tips. One more breath here. Hands together at the chest. Left elbow to hook over the right elbow. And see whether you can maintain that balance on toe tips with a slight rotation through the waist. Turning and facing that right side of the room. Bring yourself back to centre and then turn and twist to the left. Right elbow to hook over the left knee. Use the hands as an anchor to twist that body. One more breath here, really working the muscles through those feet. Back to centre. Reach the arms forward and slowly lower the heels, the bum, the feet to the front of the mat. Bums into the centre. Last little bit of engagement with the core. Arms forward, slowly roll back to that place where you wish to collapse, and just hold it in that space for the count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lower the shoulders down. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Taking ourselves into that moment where we consolidate everything we've just done. Having the feet out mat width apart. Letting the toes drop out to the side. Maybe have a little wiggle through those hips to find that comfortable space. And that sacrum, the lower part of the back of the spine. Let the shoulders come down towards the hips, and then squeeze the shoulder blades together slightly to create space at the front of the chest. Have a little turn of the head in one direction, back through centre, over to the other side, back to centre. And just taking a few moments working through the chakra colours. Chakra 1, thinking of the colour red. Chakra 2, having the mindfulness and thoughts of the colour orange. Chakra 3 is the colour yellow. Chakra 4, the colour green. Chakra 5 is the colour blue. Chakra 6 is the colour purple. Chakra 7 is the colour pink, gold or white. Bring your awareness back to the base of the spine and imagine your breath as you breathe in, going through those 7 chakras from the base of the spine to the top of the crown of the head on your inhale. And on your exhale, it goes back down from the crown of the head through all 7 chakras, back to the base. Clearing that channel for energy to flow. Keep that awareness of that breath running up and down that spine from the base to the crown of the head and back down from the crown of the head to the base. Letting go now of that visualization of the breath. Bring the awareness to the fingertips, starting to wiggle those fingers. Awareness to the toe tips, wriggling the toes. Maybe you want to take a little rotation through those wrists, through those ankles. Maybe you wish to take that full body stretch, reaching the hands up and over the head, stretching through the fingers, maybe taking a flare of the ribs and an arch through that lower back. Maybe taking in a yawn. And then bringing those hands back up and over, bringing the knees one at a time into the chest, maybe just having a little rock of that body from side to side, massaging that spine and thanking it for practice. And then when you're ready, making either a roll onto one side and take a moment there. If you wish to be a little more energetic, rocking up and down that spine a couple of times. If you're on your side, take a nice long deep breath in and a long breath out. And then slowly making your way into a seated position with those eyes gently closed. Then when you arrive in seated, make sure both sit bones are grounded. We're growing tall through the spine, creating that space for the breath to flow. Your next breath in, raise the hands up to the ceiling. Bring the palms together at the top. Then bring the hands to the chest and a soft gaze to the floor. Breathe in wisdom and peace. Breathe out love and joy. Namaste.